welcome to Flappity Flap Podcast with your hosts, Brandon and Sarah.
Hello.
We watched a scary movie last night.
So scary.
That I thought was newer than it is. It's from 2018. It's Hereditary. And I'm not talking about the rash I have. That doesn't make sense.
A hereditary rash?
That doesn't make sense.
Like in your genes? Built into your genes?
In my genes and in my genes.
Oh, that kind of rash.
I don't know.
So there will be spoilers, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's too hard to talk about the meat of the,
But if you haven't seen it yet, I mean,
definitely spoilers.
Probably never going to see it. If I haven't seen a movie in 4 years, I mean, I become okay with spoilers. I don't really care at that point.
Yeah, but I think it's good to just tell people because I didn't watch it until last night, and the only reason that I watched it is because there's been a lot of hype about it since it came out, and there's still movies that I don't want spoilers of. I think I saw one the other day, and I was like, oh, even though it had been out for a while, but usually there's a little bit of warning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this one, we were tense. Some of us more than others. Am I right?
Yeah, it was a bit much.
So, Toni Collette plays the mom, Annie, and Gabriel Byrne plays her husband, Steve, and I forget the names of the kids, but
Charlie and Peter.
Charlie and Peter are the character names, and Toni Collette, Annie, has just lost her mom, and I think the thing is, a lot of times I require a couple viewings of a movie to catch stuff that I just totally missed the first time, but I will not be watching this movie again. It was too much.
Well, I think I could watch it a second time and it wouldn't be,
yeah, I guess,
because you know what's going to happen.
So the grandma, her mom, dies, I think of old age or dementia. She had dementia. So they're dealing with that. And she explains later on in a support group that she has a lot of mental illness and stuff in her family. They've been some horrible deaths. So she's already going through a lot. And then her daughter in the movie, well, in real life, has what Dustin from Stranger Things has.
Yeah, it's where your
some kind of thing.
It's where your skull doesn't form all the way or something.
Yeah, and so it's kind of unclear if she's mentally impaired or just. Well, I think she is, but in real life, they said a lot of times they're just intellectually, normal,
average. Yeah,
I hate to use the word normal. I don't
fully functioning intellectually.
Yeah. But in the movie, I think they kind of fuck with you in that you're not sure if she's mentally impaired or just weird.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start.
Weird.
There's so much. So there was kind of a spoiler because there was some clip that was played on the Netflix Facebook page or something where they showed that dinner scene where she's yelling at her son, and it kind of spoiled what happens to the daughter. So basically,
why would they do that? That drives me nuts when they spoil things in trailers.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Netflix, but it was they were basically saying Toni Collette's acting in this was so good, which was true, and that scene really highlighted that. But
I think they all, except for Peter, the young boy, I think everybody else did it. Sorry, I'm crackling my piper. Everybody else did really well.
I think he was solid, except for his crying scenes.
Oh yeah, that's true. Just his crying, I guess.
And maybe that was on purpose, but it took you out of it.
Weird wailing.
And it was like a little boy.
It was unnatural.
It was like...
yeah.
I was like, what? He's basically a man. He's 16 or 17. And instead of making you feel kind of sad for him, you just were like, what is that?
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, that kid goes through a lot. I mean, you do feel for him. So the other creepy thing is the mom's job is making dolls, dollhouse dolls and dollhouses, I guess.
Yeah.
So she's working on this piece for a gallery, or it's a commission thing for a gallery. And that's fucking creepy because even in The Haunting of Bly Manor dolls, you immediately...
Well, right off the bat...
fucked up with the dolls.
Right off the bat, she's making her own house. She's making their own house, which you're so is she doing this for a client? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't typically make your own house and your own family for a client.
Right.
So she's doing that, and it's what's going on? And then she makes their own bedroom, and her mother as a doll at like standing at their bed looking over them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck is she doing?
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, I'm thinking this woman's crazy.
And not like in like, oh, my mom's an angel looking over me. It's like
it's a creepy like I'm sleeping
in her gown,
and she's standing over me like nightmare, you know, like horror movie level.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you do that? If you were in your right mind, you wouldn't. So that's like a theme then moving forward with her dioramas as she starts just making these, you know, like when her daughter dies, she makes that scene. Yeah. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's definitely indicative of her escalating or spiraling mental state, which is sort of how they lead you down the garden path by the whole time you're focused on her. It's all around her. She's causing stuff. She's fucking
You're
crazy.
Thinking that she's schizophrenic and she's not medicated and doing all kinds of...
They've laid this foundation for the family being mentally ill and...
Yeah.
So at the funeral...
And we don't... No offense to anybody if you have schizophrenia or if you have any mental illnesses out there. I have family members with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just...
Everybody's got something. I mean, it's very much like we're still discovering it and just the variations of what symptoms you can deal with, and the onset of schizophrenia and other conditions is like, is she having late onset, you know?
Yeah, because she was doing things that she didn't remember.
Yeah.
She was like, you know, having this type of multiple personality situation.
She called it sleepwalking. Her son resented her because... They woke up one time when he and the daughter shared a room, and she had doused them with paint thinner and was lighting a match.
Was holding a match, yeah.
And that woke her up, and she didn't do it. And she was like very defensive, like, I didn't do it. But it's like, you doused your kids in paint thinner. And so they have, the son and her have this like tension. And
that can be a thing with people who have just had kids. What's it called? Postpartum depression?
Psychosis. It's either you can have baby blues, which is fairly mild, postpartum depression, at least back when I learned about it, and then postpartum psychosis.
Oh, okay.
Which is like the mom who drowned her 4 kids like in a day.
Yeah, my mom had something similar to that when I was a baby and when my brother... Actually, it was when my brother was a baby. I don't think I was alive yet. But she thought he was evil. So she like locked herself in the bathroom and was just having a little bit of a stress moment. Which, I mean, I understand because having a baby has to be intense.
When I think you like build up all these hormones and things from the baby and then they just leave, you're just out of whack. And then this creature you've carried inside you for 9 months, I think it's like kind of a traumatic transition. I've never had kids.
The whole experience seems traumatic.
Yeah, like how is this just like a natural thing that creatures
couldn't we just
go through all
poop
the time?
Out eggs or do like fish do and just squirt your stuff
and wait for someone to come by and fertilize
just squirt it on the lawn, just both parties squirt it on the lawn, and then you know
was that the sea cucumbers
or so later
in the Zayfrank or whatever?
I think all sea creatures, or most obviously not like whales and stuff,
right, the mammals,
but I think fish do that. They just kind of go into the sea, and
it'd be like farting and then like somehow that getting fertilized like that, because we don't just...
Honestly, it's kind of an amazing design. We kind of have a flawed procreation situation where it's like, it'll tear open the mother, and you know, it's horrific and horrifying and painful.
Like a car crash.
And then afterwards you start having like all kinds of issues. Yeah. I mean, if you could just squirt into the air and be done with it.
That'd be great.
Get on that, biology.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Although I do kind of like, you know, step 1.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not saying if we could have that.
we could get rid of some good sex and just have the squirting and the, you know.
Although then overpopulation would be, you know, the population would probably explode if that's how easy it was.
Yeah.
Everybody
just
be
spray
having
people
kids.
with your...
Oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this downer of a movie. So I should have said, like, trigger warning,
downer
witchcraft,
warning.
Satanism, mental illness.
Yeah, but we aren't getting into it.
No, but everyone just, they like the trigger warning. There's some animal stuff.
You guys don't care, right?
Oh, my God. So at the funeral, she's given the eulogy and she's talking about her tension with her mom, and
nobody really misses her because I guess she was a B word.
She didn't say that in the
Everybody
eulogy,
was kind of going, yeah, it is what it is. And
she's like, my mom was very private and kind of closed off and kind of hard. And at the funeral, you see Charlie, the daughter, eating a chocolate bar. They're like, oh, that doesn't have nuts in it, right? And they're both parents and they're worried. So that kind of lays this foundation. I feel like all horror movies do, or just movies that like have this dramatic, it's like a foreshadowing of what's going to happen. So then later in the movie, the mom is pressuring the son. He wants to go to this party. He's downplaying, but it's going to be like a party with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, because he's a teenager and that's what happens.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to a barbecue. And it's like, okay.
So she tries to saddle him with the daughter.
Yeah.
And he's like, obviously like anybody else would be at that age. Like, why? Why are you doing this to me?
Right. And the daughter doesn't want to go.
The daughter doesn't even want to fucking go.
Yeah. So he's going because he's interested in this girl. To his credit, he doesn't even really put up that much of a fight. And he's nice to his sister, but obviously she's like a burden for him to go to this teenager party.
She's high maintenance and she's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about her disorder and stuff. Just her behavior. And you find out later why she's being so weird, and we can talk about it later. But
yeah. So like a bird hits the window in her classroom and she goes out at a break and like grabs some scissors and cuts its head off and sticks it in her pocket.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this isn't just like...
And she's doing weird drawings and just... I mean, I do that, but I'm not cutting the heads off of animals.
Yeah.
It's just a bit.
Yeah. So he takes her to this party and he's like, can you just hang out down here and I'm going to go upstairs for a little bit, or in the back room or whatever. And because he wants to like get high with the girl he likes. He's like tempting her with weed. Like that's his like cool in. And Charlie, the sister, is like, I don't want to. And he's like, just go eat some cake. Look, they're giving out chocolate cake. And of course, you're like, fuck, And then like the
I didn't
next shot,
think anything of it until,
Well, because I had seen that scene, that's what it was. Because I had seen that kind of spoiler scene and I knew it was at the party. So she eats the cake, and then I think the way they did it is the cake looks like it's got nuts in it.
Oh.
So you're like, what the fuck?
And who the fuck puts nuts in chocolate cake?
Not at a teenager party.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, that's like something somebody's mom does.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know what'll be good. Everybody else is like, why the fuck?
I think one time I've had chocolate cake with nuts in it. Every other chocolate cake, no nuts.
That's a crime.
Maybe a brownie has nuts in it, and then you punch the person in the face and you throw it down, and then you never eat at that plate. I don't know.
Or you pick every nut out of it and then shove it into their eyes.
Fucking walnuts and brownies is like the worst thing ever. Or ew. So she's eating this fucking nutted chocolate cake, and of course starts having trouble breathing.
Also, is she mentally challenged? Because you would think she would see the nuts and be like, hey, there's nuts in this.
Oh, yeah, nuts can kill me.
By the way, my parents just mentioned. And also, you have to have had a reaction to know, I think, typically.
So we had to pause the movie and have like a 10-minute debate about how unrealistic it is that they wouldn't have sent her with an EpiPen everywhere she goes.
The whole situation. There would be an EpiPen in the car. And there would be, the brother would have enough sense, no matter how much of a butthole he is, he would have enough sense to know, my sister has a serious nut allergy. Is there any nuts in this? Is there any nuts in anything? Mm-hmm. No matter how much of a butthole he was.
He's just got a boner for a chick in the back room.
Still though.
And he's just one-track mind.
Still though, it's not realistic.
But I was on the same page with you, and then I remembered my grandma, who has gone into anaphylactic shock from being stung by a bee, often goes around without an EpiPen.
Well, that's her deal.
But she's not dumb. She has dumb moments,
I mean,
clearly.
That's dumb.
But I'm just saying, you got a busy, tired family. They've been through a lot. Grandma just died.
There would be EpiPens in both cars.
Yeah.
If you know she's allergic, and especially if she's just grabbing chocolate bars and eating them. Just grabbing food and eating it.
Yeah.
And especially if she is mentally challenged. Because then she's more likely to go off eating nuts. Mm-hmm. And again, who puts nuts in chocolate cake? I can understand,
it's like you're like, and most importantly...
Yes. Most importantly, teenagers would not be putting nuts in chocolate cake.
Listen,
Maybe a thin layer of like peanut butter or something. But even that is a crime.
Vile. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously they needed a mechanism to like put her in a situation that was deadly. And I guess they thought that made the most sense, that there'd be this oversight and that the brother would be distracted and focused on Chick. And so she eats the chocolate cake and then starts wheezing and goes to try to find him. And then he's like, oh, fuck, you know, because she's like, my throat is growing or something. And so then he tries to rush her home or to the hospital. And we're like, what is he doing? You know, is he going home? Is he going to the hospital? And she is panicking because she can't breathe, and she rolls down the back window, sticks half of her body out the window. He's distracted and then like
there's
swerves.
There's a dead deer on the road.
Oh, there's a dead deer.
So he has to swerve, and then she against the telephone pole. Oh, and that's another thing she does the whole movie.
Brutal.
She's clicking. So I guess she is mentally challenged because she's like.
But that could also be like a Tourette's thing, which isn't.
It could be, but
necessarily, you know.
I don't know. Not recognizing that there's nuts and that you shouldn't be eating them when she's 13.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's had an episode before. You would
That's
just
how
know.
They discover it.
You would just know. Unless you were mentally challenged or something. You'd be like, oh, that has nuts in it. I'm staying away from that.
So basically, he drives, practically hits a pole. Her head bops it, pops off.
It takes her head clean off.
Takes her head clean off, yeah.
And then he drives home.
Yeah.
He sits there. He can't look at her because he's really struggling with that. And now you're kind of understanding why he's smoking so much weed, dealing with the crazy ass family, and now this. So he drives home.
But then he drives home.
Just goes to bed
without her head.
And then the mom gets in the car and freaks the fuck out.
Yeah. And he's just laying there in the bed. So they don't kind of deal with, did the family talk about it? I mean, you kind of get, they didn't really talk about it, or they kind of just move on to the next thing, which is, you know, and in the meantime, during all this, Grandma's grave has been desecrated.
Yeah.
But you don't realize the extent. The husband hears about it from the funeral home, doesn't tell the mom. So there's just all this stuff going on in the background. I mean, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much stuff. I feel like we can't go through all of it because it's just so much. But basically, the mom tried to go to this support group a couple times, and she just, you know, she's saying she's going to the movies, and then, you know, she doesn't go back for a while. Then the daughter dies. Then she tries to go back and she can't go in. And this lady comes, you know, like intercepts her from leaving and is like, oh, were you going to come in? Like, you know, my name's Joni. Like, we met. And they form this friendship. And in the meantime, there's stuff happening where like the son, he hears like clicks. So they've set up this thing that the daughter did that's very distinct that no one else does. And he is periodically hearing it, like in the fucking dark in his room.
And then he sees her.
Yeah.
She's just standing there in the dark, and then her face goes down, and then a ball drops and then rolls towards him. And then arms come up and grab him from from above his bed because he's laying down, and just pull him back and start grabbing on his face. The door slams closed, and then his mother's there. And I'm just thinking, like, it's the mom. Yeah. She has lost it. She's not stable. And she's just doing all of this crazy stuff. She did the clicking, basically like tormenting the family.
They're thickly laying that foundation to make you think, and you're like, okay, the only thing is I've seen this before. And they're being so obvious about it that it's like there's something else going on. You know, like maybe it's her, but that would be really obvious the whole time.
Yeah.
And then so she's befriending this lady, Joni. But there's weird things like, oh, this mat in front of your apartment, that looks just like doormats that my mom used to
make.
Not crochet, but yeah. And Joni, they did a really good job with her.
Oh, that one scene.
Fuck.
So Joni seems very friendly. She's very like, you know, she says that she lost her son, and she's very, she's kind of a warm presence, but like too warm to make you go,
you get a little bit
raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
And then she intercepts her again, but outside of like a fabric store or something, or a craft store, because she's picking up stuff for freaky dioramas.
Weird doll houses, yeah.
So she intercepts her, and she's touching her so much.
She starts out being like a touchy person, like she's, you know, trying to give comfort and probably get some comfort around, like, they've had these horrible deaths in their family. And
but it's so much, and it's so uncomfortable.
It's a really great scene, but I wanted to punch her in the face and, like, just karate chop her arms every time. Because Annie, the mom, is like turning, like Joni's like telling her about this seance and how it's life-changing, and she communicated with her grandson. Her 7-year-old grandson who drowned, and then like Annie will like turn, and the way that their body positioned is like Annie's like turning, and then Joni's like grabbing her, but like softly, but like and affectionately, but just got her hands on her. Yeah. And I just want to karate chop her hands off.
Does it make you think of your grandpa?
Touch me. Yeah. Like when you're talking to my grandpa and he's like 6'4" or 6'6". He's a large man.
Heavy armed man.
Yeah.
And he does not hold back when he's like pushing you around.
Yeah. I think he patted you on the back one time and you were like,
he patted me out of the house, and it was like, fuck, dude, you do not have to push me that hard.
I think he likes showcasing his strength a bit, but I think he also was just born big and strong and tall.
It's a little bit of mice and men situation, I think, where it's like, do you not know?
Yeah. So
I feel like if somebody manhandled him like that,
he wouldn't like it.
He wouldn't fucking like it. He would feel it.
Now what he does, because he ends up sitting a lot because he's older and he's ailing, and then if he's talking to you, he'll hold on to your arm. Or if you start to walk away, he'll grab you. And like, it doesn't take much effort for him to grab your arm and just hold you there. And it's not, I don't know, I don't think it's meant, but I think it is a little bit in the back of his mind, like a control thing. Like, you'll leave when and I just want to karate chop him. And it made me feel like that. And this woman, they just did such a great job. It was like just escalating the tension the whole time. Every time she's reaching out and touching her, and she's like, and it's like, fuck, she doesn't want to be touched. She's not that kind of person,
But it's not coming off overtly creepy or negative. It's just like you start noticing it.
Yeah.
And
your tension increases.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I was just paying attention because I'm not a touchy-feely person with people I don't know very well. And also, when you're dealing with someone who's just had this horrible death and who is clearly a little reserved, and she's like struggling to like, she can't even tell her husband she's going to this support group. She's going to the movies. She can't tell the lady, Joni, she's like, I don't want to go to the meeting. She's like, oh, I forgot something. So she's just not accessible. Don't touch her. And I think that was part of it, is like, she doesn't want to be touched. Mm-hmm. Take a cue.
Yeah.
But it was just really well done because it just ratchets up the tension. Like the whole movie and the use of the music and the swelling for...
Oh, yeah.
The music reminded me a little bit of, I think, The Shining, where they just have these swells. There's nothing happening. There's like a cinematic kind of
just
like
tension building
overview of the house. And there's this swell to like this peak. And you're like, you're just on edge before anything has happened.
I think the movie had a nice ramping up build to it. A nice steady build. And then it peaked. And it just got too much for me. I couldn't handle it. The amount of time they would have you waiting for that scary thing they were going to show or weren't going to show. The slow pans, you know what a pan is, panning the camera across, the slow camera panning.
Yeah.
The slow zooms, the slow, like, when is something going to happen? Mm-hmm. They were building the tension too much, and I just couldn't handle it. I was covering the screen.
Well, you were getting annoyed, and then at one point, I think when the son is walking through the house at the end, and it's completely dark, and he's not turning lights on, or maybe he was, but like, of course, in a horror movie, like, the lights don't work, and it's like, come the fuck on, like...
Yeah, the first thing you would do is click the fucking light on, especially if you've been through what he had just been through. All that crazy, horrifying, creepy shit. You'd be like, light on. First fucking thing, I'm going to turn the light on. But nope, no logic. And then it just gets insane.
So this poor kid is just going through more and more. He and his mom at the dinner table, and dad's kind of this poor bystander. Gabriel Byrne, he's just like...
He's the only normal one.
He's supportive, and he and Annie have like a good relationship, but they're pretty supportive of each other, but like he's just like seems like this long suffering, and he's kind of watching what he thinks is his wife's mental spiral, and then trying to protect his son, but they kind of go at each other at the dinner table. I mean, she just fucking loses it, and I see why people are saying like it was a great scene, because you even hadn't seen that clip that I had watched earlier of it, and you were like, she's a good actress. Like, that was, I mean, her eyes are bugging out, and she's just like
screaming.
You know,
she was well in character.
I mean, she was like, you're so, you know, like sneering at me or something, and then she's like, and I know it was an accident, but she's, you know, the daughter's dead, and so there's this horrible, like, I want to protect you and shield you from this, but, like, you're to blame partly.
Take responsibility.
And then he turns it back on her, and it's like...
And says she didn't even want to go to the party to begin with.
Right.
Your daughter, my sister didn't want to even go with me. So
he just kind of
blame?
Quietly turns it around, and that really fucking sends her over the edge, you know?
Yeah.
And then the dad's like, enough, we're not doing this. And he's just like trying to have like this nice meal, because I think the mom and the son haven't like properly talked since the daughter died. But I mean, the tension is just, it's like unbearable, really well done. You don't know what's happening. I mean, they're definitely kind of pulling the rug out from under you, and just, I was not able to guess. And I think that's why this movie got partly good ratings, is like, you can't guess what's going to happen. Yeah. I couldn't. Then, so Annie tries to go back to find Joni. Because they have the seance, and Joni connects with her grandson. And then Annie starts going into this like manic phase, and she goes home and she convinces the dad and the son to do this seance. But it's so kind of like when Joni was touching her, she's in this manic, and you just want to fucking punch her. And
it's like a crackhead.
You sound crazy. No one's going to listen to you and believe you. And you're not in the right mind to be recommending a seance right now.
Yeah. You're so hyped up. And yeah, like you just said.
And then she regrets it, because she basically ends up summoning the daughter. The daughter is like speaking through her. That scene kind of stops and goes back to normal, but you're like, something has been put in motion that is irreversible. And then she like regrets it.
Why the fuck? What the fuck are you doing, lady?
Just listen to your husband, who's like, and of course, like in all horror movies, you're just like, I'm just thinking for the husband, just take the son and go.
Oh yeah.
You know? Or just all of you, just leave. This is not, you've had a lot of bad shit happen here. Go somewhere where there's people. It's safety.
He's too chill a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like when...
He's just trying to be supportive, but...
When they discover the body up in the attic, and, well, Annie discovers the body, the mom.
Yeah, she's pretty sure it's her mom.
Yeah. That had been dug up. And then the father, Steve, goes up and looks and is like, yeah, there's a body. Immediately, he should have called the fucking cops. That's what you do. You call the police when there is a dead body in your house.
And it's a crime, like desecrating a corpse in a gravesite.
Whether it was your wife or not who dug up the body, like, you figure it out. And if she was sleepwalking somehow when she did it, okay, I figure it out. But you don't just go, oh, it's fine. Because no, it's not fine.
I mean, to be fair, he didn't say that, but he was like, I think he either asked her if she did it
He accused her.
Okay.
I think.
Which is what you would do. And so then she's like,
she was the only one who was acting insane the whole time. She was the only person to suspect.
It was just another way to like fucking make you so tense with her manic behavior. And you're like, I don't know. I know people like this. And when they do this, when they get into that mode, you're just like, fucking calm down. Like, you do not sound coherent. You have no credibility right now. No one's going to listen to you.
But they were humoring her.
But barely. Then she is trying to get rid of Charlie's sketchbook, because I think she thinks it's like partly the evil that's happening. But then she tries to burn it, and it sets her on fire. Yeah. So she has to put it out. And then ultimately she's struggling with her husband. She finally, because she's trying to get him to throw it in the fire, she throws the book in the fire, and it sets him on fire, and he fucking burns to death in the living room. Yeah. And the son is sleeping through this, because in the meantime, he's been
possessed in the classroom.
Yeah.
And the ghost beat him up or something.
Smashes his head against a desk. So he's like,
and in the meantime, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Who is possessing him?
Yeah.
Is it his sister that's possessing him? Because it seems like it, because there's clicking and stuff.
Yeah, but they were trying to. So Joni, it turns out, is like
Joni
witch
is the
or
friend.
A Satanist or something, and
yeah, you find out in the end.
But she's across the street yelling at Peter and basically doing this like incantation or something to try to oust his spirit from his body, so it can be inhabited. Later we find out by this King Payman. That's why I meant to do a little bit of research.
It goes absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Once you find out
it's fucking weird
that she is a Satanist or something. Because I was thinking the whole time, okay, it's either mental illness or it's like witchcraft. Yeah. And no, they just go full on Satanist. And there's, it's brutal too. There's a fair amount of gore in it.
Yeah. It definitely, like, at the end just went all out, and it was well done.
The piano wire bit.
Yeah. I don't even think we need to. It was fucking
jeebies.
The way they did it just, it like upsets your stomach. Just gets you like in a vital, visceral,
it was unsettling to the max.
Yeah.
Because the Annie, the mom, is up on the ceiling because she's been possessed, I guess, she's been possessed. So she takes a piano wire and starts cutting her own head off. She's hanging from the ceiling, just frantic arms.
Yeah, doing
back
like a
and
sawing.
forth,
It's
sawing
so fucking
her own
disturbing.
head off. It's
and he's
horrifying.
watching.
The
and
son
he's
is
trying to wake himself
Peter.
up because he thinks he's having like a nightmare.
As you would.
Yeah.
You'd think this cannot be real.
This cannot be real. Yeah.
Any normal person.
And now is seeing that what makes him jump through the window? Is that at the final straw?
No, he saw the cultists.
Oh yeah.
So like she saws her head off, and then I guess her body falls or something because the head is still connected to the ceiling or whatever the fuck.
I don't even remember.
And then he turns, and there are naked cultists just standing there, and I was like covering, like looking through my fingers, like who the fuck are these people now? It was so and I think that was the point where I was just like, this movie is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. That is the best way I can describe it.
So is that what freaks him out, and he jumps through the window?
Yeah.
He pulls like a cowardly lion through the window. That's what made me kind of like, it took me out a little bit and made me laugh, because it's like, I didn't laugh, but I just thought of like the cowardly lion running away because the wizard scared him and he jumps through a window.
Well, and that's another thing. To take a few steps back, you wouldn't go into the fucking attic.
Yeah.
If you were running away from your insane mom, he was right at the front door.
Yeah.
You would go out the front door. You'd jump out the front fucking window. You wouldn't run into the attic where now you're a prisoner in like potentially the creepiest part of the house.
I mean, it seemed safe for a minute. Maybe he thought he could go there and like call the cops, but
no.
It's...
And he didn't have his phone on him.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he'd just woken up from like a drug-induced, post-face-breaking stupor.
That's what I'm saying,
and
though.
was semi-possessed.
I would be running out the house. But again, maybe he was possessed to not leave.
Yeah, that could be. So he jumps out the window, I guess, kills himself.
He dies,
right?
Yeah.
He's just trying to flee this horror scene.
Seeing his mom cut her own head off, and then the fucking weird naked... cultists.
Naked, flabby cultists.
Just standing there looking at him like, this is normal. Why do they have to be naked? I don't know.
So then you see this light, and you've seen it a couple times in the movie, and I guess
I think it's the spirit of... What was the guy's name? Was it...
King Payman?
Yeah, I think that might be the spirit of King Payman.
Charlie's?
Because it goes... And then it like centers in on Peter's back, and I guess enters Peter.
So then Peter wakes up, but Peter's not Peter.
Yeah, because,
And he sees his mom's body levitating through the attic window.
Into the treehouse.
The treehouse that was where the daughter would hang out. So they keep coming back to the treehouse because the mom, Annie, would go and sleep in there after Charlie died to kind of like try to, I guess, connect. And she missed her. And it was the only way she could sleep. So a lot of the weirdness is around this treehouse.
This is when I started watching again because it just got bananas.
Yeah.
It became a circus.
Well, and once Peter died, the Peter, the tension was kind of gone because you weren't worrying about him escaping anymore. There was no hope.
I wasn't sure if he was dead or not. I couldn't
At first I hoped, but then I was like, the light went in, and I think that's somebody else now.
Now he's undead or something.
So I think for me, I was able to relax and just then be like a passive viewer to the rest of like, how are they going to resolve this? Because I'm not stressed about Peter's survival anymore. Like that ship has sailed. And so then I was just like, huh, what are they going to do next?
So they go into the treehouse.
So his mom's body floats into the tree, which was fucking weird because she's headless and just like having this dangly legged float.
It was a bit corny.
It was corny, but it was also scary, I thought.
They get into the treehouse and there's this mannequin, a very large mannequin, which is like, why would you have that? Artists have mannequins for like posing, but they're usually no bigger than like a foot tall. This mannequin was like at least 5 feet tall.
Was it a mannequin body?
And it had the daughter's head on top of it with a crown.
It also made me think of like
decapitated,
an angel sculpture,
bug-filled head
mixed with like the Tin Man or something. I don't know. It was just like a weird.
It was a weird, like, why
model.
would you have this?
Yeah.
Kind of item. It became like some kind of like Gucci set or something. Gucci, you know.
Like photo shoot?
Photo shoot, yeah.
So was that like the effigy to bring her back?
I have no idea. It's because I guess she was in him already. Oh yeah, well the attic also had some like curse type symbol.
Oh yeah.
Along with the grandma's body. So I think that was all just like somehow cursing the house.
So then they show the treehouse and the cultist people are there.
Of course, just naked again.
Grandma and mom's headless bodies are there and they're like bowing. And then fucking Joni is there and she's reassuring Peter but she's calling him Charlie, the daughter.
Yeah, the daughter's name.
And basically you don't need to be afraid. We've corrected your female body and given you this male body.
Which is like, talk about sexism.
Well, I don't know if it's because she was had her condition. Or because she was decapitated. Was that what was defective about the body? Like either the condition she had before she died or the fact that she was headless and dead.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. And basically, you have this male body now, and also you are King Payman returned.
As well? So you're both?
I didn't understand that.
And why would King Payman need the spirit of a little girl?
Right. That's what I woke up this morning thinking.
Get the fuck out of here. Like, why are you here?
Yeah, what?
Would you mind looking up King Payman?
If they just need a body, they have Peter's body and King Payman. Why do they need Charlie?
And why did you need to murder the whole family?
Right.
Could you not just do some kind of witchcraft and just take one body and house the King Payman or whatever in that body without having to murder the dad, murder the daughter, murder the mother?
Well, I think the daughter's death was accidental and had nothing to do with...
Are you sure, though?
Oh, yeah, she did say corrected the body, but so do you think they somehow caused the accident?
He may have been possessed from the get-go.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. It's a little bit abstract. So who's King Payman?
Payman is a spirit named in early grimoire. I don't know what that means. These include the Lesser King of Solomon. He is, obedient to Lucifer. He appears as the night spirit in the... I don't know how to pronounce these fucking things. Oh my god, just give me the layman's term.
So was he a king? Or is he like a demon or something?
I can't even fucking read this.
Here, let me see. King Payman is one of Lucifer's most obedient devotees. Rules 200 legions of angels... is connected to the Tree of Death and first appeared where? There are a lot of things showing him riding a camel. And there's triangles. That was part of it. The triangles burnt into the table. And the Djinn were not immortal, but were feared because they brought disease and sometimes madness. I think they have that in Diablo. They have like little... references to it. Are you done with this? Are you reading right now?
No, I'm looking at my notes. So what bothered me a lot... All right, tell me when you're done, because I know you can't read and hear at the same time.
I would like to read a little more about it, because it's kind of weird and interesting.
You're not worried that we'll open a door we can't close?
By just reading about him? Don't you have to say, like, specific kind of...
I don't know, just don't say it. Don't fucking say it.
I don't know them. Like, say it 3 times in a mirror.
Which part was it where... Was it when the mom was sitting in the car? or was it in the dark when you hear the click? And we both jumped like
it's the first time you hear
high.
the click when there's not supposed to be a click.
Right, because she's dead. The person who makes the click is dead.
It was such an aggressive click.
It was like right in your ear.
And it was in the car. It reminded me of that scene from that scary house movie where...
The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, where
when they're arguing in the car?
They're arguing in the car and the woman shoves her head
the dead
in between them.
Ghost head, yeah.
And starts screaming. And I don't usually react, but I think I went, fuck.
You reacted violently.
Fuck shit. I don't remember how I reacted, but it like, if I was an old lady, I don't know why I said that, I would have had a heart attack.
So sometimes it just helps me not be as scared because your reactions are like so good. And like,
I'm not usually that loud though.
No,
usually I just go.
We both started so hard that like, I feel like you could hurt your bones because you're just like,
yeah.
And then he puts his finger up and he goes, that click was uncalled for.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, because I wrote it down.
It was uncalled for.
And your finger just like...
pointing to the ceiling.
I did not need that. Yeah.
That was absolutely uncalled for.
Yeah.
And it was aggressive and it was completely out of the blue.
Yeah. It was well done though.
I was expecting to see like a face, something, see something kind of like suggestive. But I think that's
why it's so cool, because it was like audio and they set it up so there's only one person who does that, and it's kind of weird. Like when the son is driving to the party and she's in the back seat, she's doing it. She's probably drawing or something, and she's like, and you're like, but you don't think in that moment. Maybe you do if you watch a lot of horror movies. You don't think this is going to come back to haunt us.
Well, I didn't think she was going to die. I thought she was going to just be...
I knew because of that fucking spoiler.
That sucks.
I'm kind of glad I knew, because I feel like otherwise it would have been like, fuck. It might have been too much for me to take, because maybe that's why you had such a hard time.
Spoilers, but the whole movie was just... I felt affected.
Yeah, we were definitely like, need a palate cleanser, need something funny, but also we needed to like talk about it, And
you used to be a screamer.
I did.
Maybe
you should explain that, because that sounds bad.
Yeah. So we used to watch scary Let's Plays and scary
like Markiplier
movies.
Playing Outlast or...
Yeah, when Markiplier played Outlast, and there would be all kinds of little jump scares.
Yeah.
And I think even Alien and stuff. Mm-hmm. When Mark would play Alien, there would be jump scares, and you used to scream what felt like at full volume.
It scared me, because I'm not someone who watches horror. I didn't used to.
And back in those days, your scream would scare me more than anything.
It was blood curdling.
It was bud curdling. So you would scream, and I would have a mini heart attack.
Well, you'd probably already be startled from the jump scare, and then the extra of me screaming like I've been fucking murdered.
Yeah. So if there's ever an axe murderer coming after you, everyone's going to hear it. Yeah. And I'll just die silently, because I'm not a screamer. You really like that. You like that a little too much.
No, it's the idea that someone would be
frozen,
bearing down on you with an axe, and you're not even with your mouth open.
I'd be like that.
You just are tense and your eyes just go wide and you're just silent.
I'd be like that gif of that guy from the 70s that's going from Italian Spider-Man.
No, I don't.
You haven't seen that?
No.
It's like a guy, it looks very 70s. And he's got long hair, and he's going, oh, like his, his side to side, moving his head with his mouth open and his eyes wide open. Let me show you.
No, because you just freeze. Like, you just become very still and stiff when you're uncomfortable or frightened. You would just be completely silent and just like eyes slightly wide.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm laughing. That would be horrible. It's just
dying quietly.
No. You need to scream. Well, I think
how to scream.
I think I got used to watching stuff, and also I saw the effect on you and how, because you would get like, not like annoyed per se, but just like you really didn't like it.
I think because it would scare me more than the movie itself.
Yeah.
So some shit would happen. I would typically do maybe like a little jump or something, but your scream would make me feel like I'm going to die right now. It's a little like when we were in, what was it, Tahoe?
No, it was Fort Bragg.
So I was sleeping there with my eye cover on. So I had my, what do you call it, eye mask for sleeping.
Yeah.
I was just laying there, just going to bed, and then you scream like somebody's broken into the house. I thought, for real, somebody broke into the house. And I flip my eye mask up, and, you know, my eyes are all bleary, so I can't super see, and I'm like blinking, trying to get my vision back. I'm
just picturing you laying there half naked, like you probably had your shirt off and like your underwear on, and just flailing to get your eye mask off to see how I'm dying.
Who has broken into the house? Who is currently killing you?
It's because I picked up a fly swatter to get a fly, and there was a spider on it that was humongous, and I didn't realize, and he had like ended up on my hand, and he was fucking big. Yeah. And it's one of those screams where it just comes right out of your diaphragm, like you just push it out because
I don't know what terror. That's like. I just don't scream.
Well, you've seen me with other spiders, like the one in the shower that one time, just reflex. Scream, fear, disgust, revulsion.
You don't really do it too much anymore. You have to really be scared to do it.
I've got a little desensitized. You've helped me a little bit with the spiders, I think. And oh yes, okay.
So the Italian,
that's what that was from.
The Italian Spider-Man meme guy.
Oh God.
And you know that guy, I was looking that meme up one time, and that guy is actually a decently handsome man. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with his face in that GIF. It's really unfortunate for him. Just
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten a little bit desensitized, and also I just realized the effect that my screams had on you, and I really tried to tone it down, and I've come a long way.
Well, thank you.
Do
you really have control over it though?
I think you do if you realize how. But also, I've just watched more scary stuff with you. I didn't used to watch I'd only like occasionally watch like supernatural type stuff, haunting stuff, but not really even that much.
Well, I think
so I got a little desensitized.
I think now you have more of a stomach for it than I do.
I'm very tense, so I'm still not quite ready to watch it.
I feel like it won't be as scary for me.
Because of the brother. Like, I know what's going to happen to the little brother in the beginning, because I read the book and I watched the original with, not original, but Tim Curry. It was pretty bad. But, you know, I just know, and I think in the book at least, that they describe it more, and it's brutal. Anyway, so I think the thing that really kind of upset me about this movie...
Clowns don't really scare me. They're funny.
He's like a clown that, like, I think he tears his arms off or eats the kid's arms off or something.
That's funny, though. I'm just kidding.
He's like a 8-year-old or something. He's a kid.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, the thing that, like, upset me is, so you kind of find out later that, like, the mom is saying, oh, my mom, you know, the grandma who died, like, got her hooks into Charlie, the daughter.
So we're circling back to the movie.
So you're like, oh, was she grooming her, like, in the Satanism stuff? And they had, like, this bond, apparently, the grandma and Charlie. But it's upsetting that all this shit happens, and that the mom goes through all this shit and is basically used by Joni, you know, to bring back this King Payment or whatever. Well, they fuck her family because she loves her daughter. Like, when her daughter dies, she is destroyed.
She loses
I mean, she's distraught.
Well, and I think the daughter and the son may have been possessed to do whatever happened, because I think the, like, cutting off the bird's head is somehow related to her losing her head. And she's doing drawings.
I did say that.
She was doing all kinds of drawings. There was a drawing of the pigeon's head with a crown on it.
Oh.
So there's little, like, tidbits like that are like...
Well, I wasn't sure if it was because...
Weird coinky dink if she's not connected
But
somehow.
I partly thought Grandma had groomed her a bit and was secretly, like, teaching her and maybe...
Possessing her or something.
I don't know if she was possessing her or just teaching her and getting her in the fold of the devil worship stuff of the Satanists, or maybe she was just like
it's a little weird and inconsistent though, because, like, I don't know, she's So she's smart enough to become some kind of what would you call it? Dark arts wizard or some shit. But she isn't smart enough to not eat fucking peanuts when she knows she's allergic. I don't know, just some weird inconsistencies.
Who puts peanuts in chocolate cake? How many times do we have to say that?
For real. Don't do it.
If you ever went to a party and said, oh, chocolate cake, like only now after watching this movie we'll go, is there nuts in that?
What that is a crime. I think I already said that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I think at the end, it was like, it became a bit, and then this happens in horror movies where it's not scary anymore. It's maybe disturbing, gory, but the tension and the expectation and the suspense and the mystery is gone. And you're just like, huh? Like this is what they did with it? And I think the movie was great up to that point. I think it's cool that they did like a different twist. It wasn't just mom being crazy or even the son being crazy, because I thought that for a second. I was like, oh, it's all about him. He's the hereditary guy.
Yeah.
But it was more about like passing down the witchcraft or the Satanism, maybe.
But completely passing over your own daughter?
Yeah.
It was a little weird. I thought it was a great movie though. I'm not...
I think it's just the end bit. It was like, it kind of reminded me of that movie with Johnny Depp that was like a devil thing. I think the devil stuff sometimes is just a bit too much out there for me. Like I can kind of buy ghost stuff because...
And witch stuff?
Yeah, because it's a little more like, oh, I could kind of see that being a thing. But all of the stuff that was happening where mom's in the main house and then somehow she's in the attic and then she's flying through it was like, you kind of lost me. I still am going to watch. I've made this commitment. I want to see how you wrap this up, but it's just a bit out there. And it's just feels almost silly now. Almost. Gross, scary, but like it's become another thing now.
I think if they dialed back the scene of that campy kind of ending with the mannequin.
Yeah.
If they had just the daughter's head on a pillar with a crown on it, and the cultists, if they were like dirty or something, if it was a more like gritty scene instead of like an off-putting kind of like kind of scene, it felt more cheesy than it did scary. And I was just kind of pulled out of that kind of mindset.
If it was like the people in the Ritual movie,
yeah,
where they were like grubby and living in the woods,
yeah,
but yeah, it was sort of like they were in this tacky little church. I mean, it was like, it felt like a scene from a church at Christmas time. But fucking weird. And maybe that's why I felt like icky about it.
Maybe that's why they did it too, to just make us feel put off.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie was a bit of a troll.
Yeah. But it was like, maybe it's supposed to be extra disturbing because it's like, this is our church. Ugh.
Yeah. Did you have to murder the whole family?
Yeah.
It seemed a bit excessive.
I guess because otherwise they'd stand in the way of the cultists using the daughter.
Would they, though? But... I mean, look at how powerful they are. They can have people floating without their heads. You couldn't just kidnap somebody and be like, okay, here's your new body. But no, you gotta murder the dad. You gotta murder the mom. It was a bit much.
Well, okay, so here we're back with the animal. Murder the dog.
Yeah, why did they murder the dog?
What I am sick of and I want to have a movement against is enough with the animal stuff. The bird cutting off the head, it was already dead. But the dog, as soon as they have a dog in a horror movie, I'm like, God damn it. And just the way they place the dog in certain scenes is like, it's not like the dog in the Prey movie where it's its own full... almost like character where you're like, I think the dog might make it, and the dog makes it. Spoiler.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just tired of having a dog be used as like
an emotional
to show you like how serious things are getting, but like, I don't know, just at least they didn't make you see or kind of hear or know what was happening. But at some point, you're just
the dog's yelps,
there. I think the dog yelped when like the door slammed. And it might have just scared it.
No, I think when it was outside. I think it was maybe outside at some point barking.
It was barking when she was doing the seance. And I think it was maybe to alert them that, like, something's not right.
Yeah.
That's what I told myself because I didn't want to think they're doing something to the dog.
I personally like a movie that is dialed back from that for Halloween. Like, I like kind of a little bit of cheese, a little bit of like, comic relief. I need that.
You definitely need your comic relief, yeah.
I need some comic relief, and I need a little bit of like cheese to pull me out of the movie. But if it's just like,
yeah,
the whole time what did you call that movie type? A psychological thriller, where it's just a mind bender.
Yeah, this was like, I mean, it is definitely horror, but it was psychological a lot because, yeah, like you said, they're trolling you.
It gave me anxiety.
Yeah, and you feel for this fucking family, like they've been through a lot, and that's, I think, what, like, obviously Satanists are not people you think of as being empathetic or caring, but like you're like, haven't they been through enough? She's got this whole mental health history thing, tragic history, multiple family members dying or killing each other or killing themselves. I don't even remember. And then she loses her mom, and doesn't have this resolution with her mom, who's a Satanist, and then loses her fucking daughter in this horrible, and her head is sitting there on the highway covered in bugs. So that's how they have to go back and find her head. And is this what the grandmother would have wanted? Her whole family to just be fucking murdered? For King Payman?
It's a little bit...
Who is this guy, anyway?
It's a little bit like it was done through or for the grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was like the queen or something.
Do you really think that she would want her whole family, her whole bloodline to be wiped out?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's not her
that was the
bloodline.
end. I mean, well, but her granddaughter got to be King Payman resurrected or in her grandson's body, so I guess that's an honor. Fucked up people.
So he's like a zombie now, though? Because when you die, that means something went wrong with your body. Some organs burst or something.
Yeah, true.
So she got back up and is fine now? Is a zombie now? Like, did she somehow get her body mended? So many unanswered questions.
And she's a girl, and is she gonna be like, she gonna be getting erections? Like, I don't know why I thought of that, but it's like she's a female in a male's body suddenly, and yet a resurrected Lucifer supporter.
Yeah. And again, why do you need the daughter?
Did you even ask her if she wanted this?
Why do you need the daughter in that body, especially
she's just a middleman?
Especially if she's like mentally challenged, or does she not carry that into her spirit world?
I have no idea. So many questions.
And she's so young. I mean, is her spirit older? Maybe. I don't know. Is her spirit actually King Payman?
I don't know. I think maybe, I mean, we could, now that we've talked about it and given our own thoughts, like look it up and see, like, what does someone say who really like did a deep dive, or like someone who, like Elvis the Alien, where because he like explained stuff from the Nope movie that I completely missed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I really appreciate his take on that. And that makes complete sense, but I did not get that for myself. And I like these movies, but I'm not going to watch them again because I'm too tense. Even though I know what's going to happen.
You won't be that tense the second time around.
Yeah, but it's still like a downer.
Knowing what happens, I mean, I think I would just have to look away again when she's sawing her own head off. Because that was just...
I like that experience when it's new and fresh and you don't know what's happening. I don't want to be in that world again because it's fucking depressing.
Yeah.
So it's like I wanted that first time, but I don't rewatch horror movies.
Yeah.
I like that fresh experience and like not knowing what's going to happen. But also it was so tense that like I need a minute before I watch another one, and I don't want to rewatch that one.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a casual, scary movie, do not grab that one. That is like a night ruiner.
Did unless it ruin your night?
Unless you're like, you don't get spooked easily, or...
Yeah. Well, but then, like, I told Brandon, he's been having this thing lately where I think because we're kind of stressed about... There's some job stuff going on and other stuff.
Shit,
and
just stuff.
Yeah. And he keeps waking up and, like, kind of, like, sitting upright or leaning up and, like, looking at the door. It's usually you're looking at the door. Like, you've heard a noise.
Yeah.
And it fucking freaks me out because I'll wake up and you'll be like, and you're just kind of like sit up and you're just staring and I'm like, what but you don't answer me because I think you're asleep mostly.
Yeah, I'm like half asleep, half awake.
But like your eyes are open, like looking at the door.
And
I think.
I'm like seeing things and hearing things.
And I'm like,
in my partial awakeness.
And then I figure out, okay, he's just doing that thing. So that happened last night,
okay, he's just having his weird, like, half nightmare things.
But you're kind of hard to wake up, like, and I don't think I should necessarily wake you up. But if you're having a nightmare, maybe I should be like, hey, because sometimes you're having, I think, a good dream because you'll be giggling. And then
yeah.
So let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm sure there was just so much stuff that, like, I wanted to write down. It was good. It just, I think the ending, I think I wished it could have gone another way.
I think they could have done the same thing with it, but again, just had a different overall feel, a different atmosphere.
In the treehouse end scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less corny, weird, off-putting kind of like grandma's house feeling with the corpses leaned over, bowing.
Yeah.
You know, if they had like painted the inside of the treehouse with blood. And had, you know, like weird dolls made out of like straw or something hanging around the house. Just creepy shit like that. I mean, maybe it's too cliche.
Too easy. Yeah.
Maybe too easy and too cliche, but it had too much of like a weird, nicey nice feeling mashed with the.
I think that's deliberate because it is gross.
But it gave off a feeling of like, did they mean for it to come off this way?
A little bit tacky or something.
I think if they had just changed the mannequin, I would have...
I wasn't even sure what I was looking at.
It was a big, one of those like drawing posing mannequins, but it was like large. And it had the daughter's head as its head with a crown on it. And I couldn't really tell that was the daughter's head because I was too focused on this weird fucking mannequin. Like, what are we looking at? And it was all lit white, which was weird considering that before that you were just seeing like the red light from the heaters.
Yeah.
So it was just a strange, like, what is happening kind of.
I felt like everything else was so deliberate though. It would be weird, you know, and I don't think they shoot all that stuff in the order that the film is in. So it's not like, otherwise I'd say, oh, they got to the end and it was kind of shabbily put together. But it just felt like everything was so deliberate and calculated to fuck with you. And just make you tense. It's like that was part of it. Maybe it just doesn't work for some people, you know, like you're just like, I'm just kind of confused.
Well, it did have a similar feel to that woman's overall feel.
That's true.
Of just like, I'm here and like have a good vibe about me, but there's an underlying like, whoa, no.
Yeah, but I think also because it's a horror movie, you know that people aren't what they seem and you can't trust her. You're too nice. Yeah. You're too nice and it's making me nervous. But I think you're right. And that she's all reassuring the daughter when she's alive now in the sun, and she's like, it's okay, you don't need to be afraid. And it's like, oh, she's so sweet, but oh, she's a Satanist.
But
like,
she's not sweet because she's probably the one behind all of the family being murdered.
Well, she was basically trying to expel Peter from his own body. I mean, that's not nice.
Yeah.
Overall, what would you rate this movie out of 10?
I'd probably give it like a 9.
Oh, that's pretty high.
It was very creative.
It's got a hairball.
And crazy, but you know, it was too fucked up for me, I think.
That's a high rating.
Yeah, I think I would even give it a 10 because it was really well done. It was crazy, it was intense, had me on the edge of my seat. It had a nice slow build, but then just went through the roof. With the insanity, and it just kept you guessing, and then in the end it did kind of tie up into a nice little like, here's what happened.
It was not what I expected. Even when the Annie, the main character, Toni Collette, was finding like the books from her mom and putting together like the devil worship stuff, you're just thinking she's crazy, she's imagining all this.
Yeah.
Which is because it's such a movie trope, I think, and they've laid that groundwork.
Oh yeah, with the title of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking she's just crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, oh, the son's crazy.
Right.
It's not her, it's the son, which was kind of a cool like, now who is the issue here?
Yeah.
And then it turns out, oh, it's none of them. It's really just the friend or whatever, the grandma's friend. What would you rate it?
I think I would rate it like a 7.5 or 8, and only because of the ending, and it just feels a bit, I don't want to say goofy, but I think just anything I've seen where there's like Satan stuff involved just ends up feeling a bit something.
I think because it's religious.
Maybe.
So witches and stuff.
Yeah, you could be right.
Witches, I think, are typically more of like a ancient, like druid type situation where it's like they use the things from nature to do all kinds of weird, evil shit and do curses and stuff, and they aren't typically connected to Satan.
I think it depends on the lore you're kind of looking at, maybe, but...
I think in modern movies, they're often, like, connected with nature or old religions, not typically, like, the devil.
I think nowadays, like, they're more back to, like, a pagan kind of route.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think, not so recent, where it was, like, witches are devil worshippers. Mm-hmm. Or the wives of
the dark
Satan or
arts.
something. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right, though, that it's kind of a religious aspect. Because it was kind of like that in The Ritual, where it's just so hard to keep a horror movie together through the end, because when you get to the end and there's the reveal, and then you have to tie it up and explain it, all the mystery is gone. The tension building is gone. It's a rare movie that really ties it together.
Yeah.
And I think you maybe want it to go a certain direction, and then if it doesn't, and it doesn't work perfectly, you're like, you know, the expectations are so high, and I think it's really challenging. But yeah, it was fucking good. I was uncomfortable.
I feel like the ending was good in a way because it was unexpected, and because they didn't do like some horror movies do, where they just leave it open-ended.
Yeah.
Or they leave it abstract, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? I hate movies that leave an open, abstract ending where it's just like, up to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That would have pissed me off. I think it was definitely brave and committing to like this weird fucked up ending. I mean, so I think like after a few days go by, because you end up, these movies, they just get inside your head. Like you just think, like with the Nope movie, which we haven't talked about, but you know, it just kept ruminating, just living there in my head for like days and weeks.
It was very interesting.
But like,
I thought,
I think in a few days I'll go, yeah, actually that was a really great ending. But I'm just like, I wasn't used to it. It was a weird subject matter. It wasn't expected. I'm glad they didn't just make her crazy. And it was like, oh, she was a twist. But it wasn't a twist because you kind of expected it, you know.
It's a little bit maybe a type of situation where nothing will please you, and not just you, but just the viewer. Like, if it's too typical, we're going to be saying, that's too, didn't see that coming.
Right.
And then if it's too weird, it's too weird.
You're right.
So, like, it has to be some kind of, in order to please us, it has to be just weird enough, not too weird, not too typical.
Yeah.
You know.
It is like I mean, I definitely have a lot more respect for horror directors now, because you kind of have this sort of formula or thing or checklist that you have to meet throughout, and just like this kind of impossible challenge to resolve or, you know, tie up this just laying down all these, not breadcrumbs, but I don't know, throwing out all these clues and like misdirection, and then tying it up in a perfect package is like near impossible. And so, yeah, I'm going to be picky and kind of want it to be a certain way, and then when it's not. But
it's maybe better that it's not that way. Yeah. It's maybe better that you watch the movie and you're caught off guard, especially with a horror movie. But to me, it got to be too much. It was too much off guard. It was too much being trolled by the writers, to where I had to just be a baby and cover my eyes. Because, like, fuck, man, I can't take it.
Yeah. Well, and we don't watch a lot of stuff like that, and like, you don't watch a lot of movies, and you like your comic relief, and you watch a lot of comedy.
I watch a lot of comedy.
And you're a sensitive, empathetic person, so it's just building that, and no relief, no valve, no...
Yeah, I don't think there was any comic relief
just
in that
pressure,
movie.
pressure.
And I think I'm used to even some of the scariest horror films having some kind of comic relief.
Yeah.
Usually there's something.
When we watched Nope, I think when he opens the car door and then he closes it and he's like, nope. And I think were like, something. You know?
Pretty much. Yeah. Finally, somebody would actually do.
A little something that could just...
Yeah. He was
none of that here.
He was pretty good in that movie for comic relief the whole time because he was just playing this like very relatable character. You just wouldn't. You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't do what Pete did and go walking in the fucking dark after knowing that your ghost sister has been haunting you.
Well, and basically you're wondering in the back of your mind the whole time if your mom's trying to kill you.
Yeah, that
She was grabbing your head earlier in the movie. She doused you with paint thinner in a earlier time that we didn't see.
And if I were Pete, I would have left that day.
Yeah.
That very day that she was grabbing my head under my bed and I saw my sister's head fall off and become a ball, I would have left the fucking house.
That's what it was.
I would have grabbed up a bag, all my shit, and left.
But that's what they do in these horror movies is you just go, just leave now. Take your kid and leave. Dad, take the son, leave.
Well, maybe
Mom
that's what
spiral.
Nope guy would have done.
Yeah. Yeah. But, they wouldn't have a fucking full-length movie if they did that.
That's true. Well, and there might be some sort of, what would you call it? Some sort of reason that they didn't leave the house. Like they were cursed from the get-go. Because it did kind of seem like that.
Yeah. But I definitely would recommend the movie. And yeah, I think in a few days, like I'll have a little bit of a different feel about the ending.
But if you're sensitive, just maybe don't watch it or it's a bit much.
If you're not a horror movie watcher, tread carefully because it's more upsetting because of the mental health issues, the family issues, the animal stuff,
the gore.
The gore,
the little jump scares, the kind of twists and turns that it takes that you do not see coming at all. So, yeah, be careful. Maybe watch it during the day if you're sensitive.
In a few installments.
Because I don't usually cover the screen.
Yeah, you did that with The Haunting of Hill House.
Did I?
I think because it was like 10 episodes and I was just binge watching them.
That was another fucking thing that had no comic relief.
Yeah.
If there was, it was very few and far between.
No, it was not. It's not a comic relief type show.
I need that. I need even just some guy saying, "Oh, well, that was crazy."
Yeah. Oh, I need to go change my pants.
Yeah. Anything. Give me anything that lightens the mood a touch.
But they don't want that. They want to just build you up until you're like gonna beep like a kettle.
Yeah.
No, explode.
They're trying their best to give you stomach ulcers.
Pretty much.
From the stress.
Just have a mental breakdown at the end of it. I'm sorry.
No,
I asked you and you were like into it, and then I was like, I need to remember that he doesn't do well with these.
I was down, but I didn't realize how fucking crazy and scary that movie was going to be.
It got good reviews, so I knew it was going to be intense.
It was intense.
Yeah. So next, It, maybe.
I think I'll be able to handle It better than this last movie.
Yeah, maybe.
I might be wrong, but
all right,
clowns,
maybe in a few weeks.
Clowns don't really scare me.
But it's not just about that. Like, there's multiple manifestations of the It.
Yeah, what does he become, like a spider or something? He becomes like a monster or something, but still, I'm just like, okay, it's a CGI spider clown. All right.
But I think
it's not like a human cutting their own head off with a piano wire on the ceiling, possessed, fucking jerky motions, like
that was
creepy, visceral.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
I think
I can handle a spider clown any day.
I think with It, in this version, it's more gore and brutal stuff, and it's kids. So
yeah,
I think that'll be harder. But anyway, I definitely recommend if you like horrors, thrillers, that it's just like take a Xanax first or something. I don't know. Probably not a good idea, but yeah. So if you guys watched it, let us know what you think and recommend any other good horror. Again, I'm not into the like pure kind of slashers. I'm not going to watch Halloween Ends.
Any scary movies that you guys like?
Yeah, but good and like, just solid. I don't know. That's not very, good solid, horror movies.
Good.
Like a rock.
Solid horror movies.
Yeah.
Even if they're older, too. Just because we may not have seen them. We don't really watch a lot of scary movies.
Yeah, and there's certain things I don't have a lot of. Like, I have a hard time with some zombie movies.
The gore can be a bit much.
Yeah, it can be a bit much. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. I like hearing from you guys. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys.
See you on the other side.
Bye-bye.
Bye.